right, welcome back, everybody, to the legendary interview section. It is going all the way up. I got Superman in the building, y'all. Vic, I call Vic Superman because he looks just like when I first saw him. He looked just like Superman to me, man. So I always call him that. But he is a real life superhero, and we'll get into that. But before we begin, welcome to the stage of history. I am your illustrious host, Kevin Uncanny Anytime. All right. And so I got my man Victor here. Victor, go ahead and just let them know who you are, where they can follow you if they decide to. He's not a big promoter of social media, he is a
Yeah.
firefighter, but just go ahead and introduce yourself for him.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Victor, firefighter up here in North Idaho in Shoshone County. Current lieutenant, acting captain right now. So that's kind of my big goal and push right now for work. But originally from Montana, and yeah, just trying to live that simple life of helping as many people as I can.
That's what's up, man. All right. Well, yeah, I did. I thought it was good. We were just kind of behind the scenes talking about it, man. We had this conversation about firefighters, and a few of us in the institute. We were kind of laughing because it was, I think it was Laura, if you guys know who Laura is. She was like, oh, I was watching this show, and the firefighters, and they be fighting all of these fires. She was like, man, you do a lot, or something like that. And Vic just started laughing. He was like, man, that stuff is crazy. It's way over dramatized. So for anybody that is looking at this and they're like, oh, okay, he's interviewing a firefighter, I wanted to give you guys some insight on what that actually was, right? And what he actually does on a regular basis, and how the maybe the do they call it a precinct, or what do they call it?
So it depends on where you're at. So you do precincts are more for larger areas like FDNY over in New
Gotcha.
York. It's mostly broken down either into municipalities, so city, or if you're around a city, county, and that's what we are. So
Okay.
we're a county department that assists with the municipality. We have what's called borderless boundaries, so its closest unit will go. It just makes sense. Back in the day, it used to be kind of a measuring contest as to no, my area can take care of herself, and it benefited nobody. So
Oh,
even
gotcha.
though yeah, so even though we are county, we still assist with. There's just no boundaries. Essentially, is what it is.
Okay.
So yeah, so counties where I'm at, there are municipalities and cities as well, and it can be broken down into precincts. But those precincts are more going to be broken down for individual like fire stations versus the overall department.
Got you. Okay. And I mean, obviously, the only reason I know that terminology is from the police shows, right? From
Yeah,
CSI and stuff like
yeah.
that. But yeah, let's talk about a little bit about that, man. So as far as the amount of, if you could average it out, what would you say the amount of actual fire calls would be, like, I don't know, in a month's time? Let's do it a month.
Oh, so every month it varies like call volume,
Okay.
but on average, like actual fires, national average, and we're no different. About 10% of the calls that we run are quote unquote fire related. So that's 1 out of 10 calls is a fire related call.
Okay.
And fire related call can even be just like a smoke alarm or smoke detector went off and it's a false alarm. If we go down to actual fires, you're looking at maybe, at least in my area, we're looking at 2 out of every 100 calls we go on is some sort of fire. Right now, with being summertime and here in North Idaho, we do have wildland fires. So we do have more fires that are outside, like affecting the hills and everything. But as far as the structure fires that you see on TV, those are about 1 in 100.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
One more.
they're far and few between. Back in the 70s and 80s, and I mean even prior to that, fires were happening all the time. But the fire department, like we take pride in it, is we are one of the few businesses that try to put ourselves out of business. We have fire
Hmm.
prevention bureaus, we have public education, and it's our goal is to make sure that there aren't any fires, because when fires happen, there is life is typically involved with it. So we want to make sure that there's nothing that doesn't happen with that, but especially property. I mean, when it comes to the basic things of just a house, like nobody wants to go through any substantial loss. So we go through, we make it an effort nationwide, and even our brothers and sisters over the pond, over in EU, they have good fire prevention as well too. So we actively try to put ourselves out of a job.
Got you. Yeah, that's actually, now that's a very interesting uh interesting mindset if people think about it, because you think, okay, well, if nothing's happening, then yeah, what's the purpose of it, right?
Yeah,
But all of the prevention and security techniques that you guys probably implement helps with that, with not being called too often. I mean, because like you were saying, even if it was like the TV shows, as some of you guys watching, if you watch any of those firefighter shows, if it was like that, it'd probably be ridiculously stressful.
oh man,
Um,
my head of hair would be gone. I'd be great, and I would probably look 20 years older. Truth be told, it's
right,
it's
because with go
it's
ahead.
already stressful enough. I don't want to deal with Chicago fire, like a tornado landing in Chicago. Like, no, thank you.
Right, man. It's good to think about this, you guys, when TV kind of sensationalizes the different things like that with firefighters' lives and stuff like that. Because I guess, because I'm gonna rephrase this, because I almost said obviously, but in a way you would think that they're what they're doing now and the way that they do it and try to do all of that prevention wouldn't be good for TV, but you technically can make anything appealing. You really can. It
Yeah,
just takes the right mindset and direction to really showcase what's actually happening. But the dramatics and those are high dopamine hits. That's probably why people watch those shows, is because it's just
yeah,
very pulling on your emotions, and you get
yep.
so wrapped up into the people's lives and what's happening and all of that stuff. But as far as what you guys do then, on a time frame where there's not a whole lot going on, is there like protocol set in place to where it's like, okay, well, let's do more prevention, or how does that work?
So yeah, so when there isn't a lot going on, there's I guess a split between the fire realm. So I am part of a transport based fire service, and then
Oh,
there are
gotcha.
fire services that aren't transport based. So every single time 911 gets called, these are the downtimes, the non-fire calls, because 90% of our calls are medical that we do run.
Okay.
So that keeps us busy. Uh, you'll always see a fire truck showing up with an ambulance wherever you're at, and a lot of people always question that. And it's because the fire stations are strategically placed through a growth plan, to where response areas are typically less than about 8 minutes for a fire truck, an engine to get to where it needs to go. So the engine will typically get there first, and then the ambulance will show up, and then we'll assist in what ways that they can there, and actually transporting to the hospital. My department, in all of North Idaho, where I'm at, we are transport based. So the ambulance is run by the firefighters. There isn't a private third party company. So when we are going in between, there is that downtime, between fires and stuff. It is typically filled with medical calls, your routine house calls, lift assists. I mean, anything that you would dial 911 for, it's filled with. Um, so we even get the mundane, stubbing of the toe. Yes, I've gone on a stub toe for 911.
What?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
good one. Okay.
Yeah, so it is, but our days are actually packed. I know a lot of people think that it's just you kind of sit around and do nothing. But I mean, for us, I work 2 days straight, so I work 48 hours, and then I have 4 days off. So the start of our days, the start of our shift is I'll come in. We'll all come in and we'll figure out kind of what the day is going to look like. We'll get through our upper management, so our battalion chiefs or division chiefs, and they'll sit down with the battalion, and we'll get assignments passed down for the week to where it's, hey, we have, while you guys are on set, you have this mandatory training at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that you have to go to, or hey, you're running to school to do fire prevention today, or you got these business checks. So we have a couple mandatories per shift that we have to do, and then the rest of the time is then filled by myself laying assignments for the crews. And normally that's just we start the day off in the morning. We always start with rig assignments and checks. Got to make sure everything's up and running. So that takes some time. And then we're extremely family oriented. So the first thing we get done is when we get done checking everything is we sit down for a family breakfast and catch
Gotcha.
up on what everybody did over the weekend and how things went. And then my shift, just because it's me, we're pretty PT heavy. So we will work out twice a day. We'll typically do what we call our bro lift in the morning, because we got a couple guys that just want to like just slam weights and stuff, and I'm right there with them. Absolutely love it. So we'll hit it for about 45 minutes, and then sometime in the afternoon we'll do some sort of hit training, get some cardio in as well too,
Gotcha.
as time permits.
Got you. Okay. So then, I mean, and so and I want people to really understand that, even though it might seem like, oh, okay, well, they don't do a whole lot, to be ready though, to
Yeah,
keep yourself ready is a whole different type of mental training. Because at any given moment, you guys could get called, and it's like, okay, now I gotta activate in performance right out the gate,
yeah.
right? And it's like that's the type of that's the type of mindset that's very interesting to me, which is why I wanted to kind of get you on here and pick your brain on. So,
Mhm.
what would you say is like the worst call you've been on? Like, what's a really bad
Oh
call that you're like,
man,
oh
you're
man,
you're really you're really hitting home.
okay,
Oh, there is quite a few. So, and I appreciate the way you worded it, like worst call, because it's a lot of people, they'll ask, what's the craziest call or like the best call you've been on, and in all honesty, people want to hear like like, oh, I went on this like super crazy fire, something that's cool and adrenaline packed. But in my world, and for our world, craziest call is typically a not good call.
yeah,
It's like it's our worst call that we do our best to not take things home with us. We do have an amazing peer support team. We do have an amazing mental health team to where we will bring in for debrief after a really bad call, to actually
okay,
sit down and work through it in a healthy process, because PTSD within first responders is high. I mean,
yeah,
it's with firefighting, and then police as well. And there are still more suicides every year than actually. We have line of duty deaths, is what it's called. And
mm,
on average, about 100 firefighters lose their life every year on an active fire. But the issue we
wow,
have is more firefighters die not line of duty, but by suicide due to some sort of mental trauma they haven't processed in a
wow,
proper way. So yeah, going back, I think there's two calls that stand out in my mind. One fairly recent, because we were, man, it was about 3 weeks ago. Kind of had that conversation with you
yeah,
when I was reaching out and was like, hey, like I'm gonna check out for a couple days. I need time to just be away from everything and have that mental reset, and not be really active on social media or anything.
yeah,
We had a mass casualty training, and that was 3 days, with specifics on school shooting.
Mm.
So it was 3 14-hour days of intense stress inoculation and training because we try to make it as realistic as possible.
Wow.
So yeah, so that it was good because it's something that unfortunately in this world now we need to know. But
Mhm.
hopefully we never have to. Hopefully we never have to go and use the equipment and everything that we have. And then we had multiple we had multiple night calls the set before. So the training happened on my days off. So it was days off. Uh, and the 2 days that were before that, we ran like all night. So I was running on maybe 2 hours of sleep for 2 days. So exhausted already,
Yeah.
and not my prime state of mind. Went to the training, came back on shift, and then we had a head-on collision. And this is where I guess the movie magic does happen because we were confused because it never happens. But we had a semi head-on with a passenger car, and they
Wow.
literally blew up. They blew up in flames, and that is the first time in
Wow.
7 years that I've seen an actual
Wow.
collision that like blew up. So it blew up in flames. We got on scene and we had four patients. One was deceased upon arrival. They were ejected, not wearing a seatbelt. But you could, and this is what kind of got to me a little bit, is the way that the body was positioned.
Mm.
The patient didn't die immediately on the road. They burned to death because you could see how they were trying to crawl away from the fire.
Oh,
So
man.
that was a little mental trauma.
Yeah.
Um, but so that's probably the most recent. Everything was handled well. It was just multiple incidents is what we had. So we had, a car crash, two car crashes technically, because it was a head-on that affected two vehicles. Both vehicles were on fire. It was on the side of the road, which caught the hill on fire. So then we had a wildland fire inside of all that, and then there were houses up at the top. So we had structure that we had to make sure was protected as well. And then we had to fly in our life flight and medevac people because the injuries were pretty good life, not conducive for life. So we had to fly them out. So that
Wow.
one was pretty gnarly, most recent. But I think the worst call for me that I'll ever stick on is I was still a rookie. I was still on
Mm.
probation, so it was within my first year, and it was my second CPR call. And unfortunately, the patient died. But what will stick with
Wow.
me, yeah, what will stick with me forever is we were getting the patient moved out because we hooked the pads up and we had shock and medication. Everything was pushed, so we were we were loading him out to the ambulance, and the wife grabbed me and shook me and was like, "I need you to save, my husband. I can't live without him."
Mm.
And it was,
Oh, that's deep, dude.
yeah, you don't want to give false hope. So
Right.
my response was we were going to do everything we can for him, which isn't a lie because we are going to do everything we can.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm also not promising I'm going to save him because I know the outlook's bleak. And that will probably be one of the worst calls for me because
Yeah.
it was the interaction and the fear and the look in her eyes. That it's
Yeah.
just that eye contact that shook with me. So yeah, that if you want to know worst, that is probably the worst one that I've been on. Just because I was new and didn't have a lot of experience with what to do, with what to say, even really how what to do. So
Yeah. Man, dude. See,
yeah,
that's oh goodness, dude. That's so deep, man. That's because on the first one that you mentioned, to see visible life expire in a
yeah,
traumatic way, that's like that does something to you, man. Like, cause I
yeah,
just feel because we're all connected, you feel it a bit, but then it
yeah,
also just gives you that okay, life is pretty finite, man. Like, I
yeah,
get it. I feel unlimited sometimes. I talk about that a lot, but it's like
yeah,
that kind of really puts your life in perspective. Like, okay, but yo, I gotta let me make
yeah.
sure I'm
No,
doing what I'm doing, man. Because goodness gracious, it's so easy. You know what I mean? That sounds like that was something that just it was like okay, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden you have no idea. You know what I mean? That those things
yeah.
can transpire, and I'm sure that they probably didn't know that day that stuff was gonna transpire. You know what I
No,
mean? So it's
No.
really keeping life in perspective. And I try and not hang on to things like that, but I try to hang on the finite of life. You know, lately on TikTok, I've just been saying one thing I'm trying to stay extra consistent on is just saying, yo, give it everything you got,
Yeah.
like every day, man. Cause it's
Yep.
like, cause of that, those type of
Yeah.
things, man. It's like you just never freaking know, dude. But and at the same time, you know, the positive side of it is because we are here and able to do so many things. So
Yeah.
why waste it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But man, that's deep stuff, dude.
Yeah,
That's
no,
deep
it
stuff.
is.
I
Well,
feel it.
and it's and I do want to touch on a little bit something that you said too with like the trauma and the instant. I know for I mean there's a lot of people that, are out there and they're, getting used to it and stuff. But for me, especially like on my mindset and spiritual journey, to know myself better, is there is that interconnectedness. And anytime there is an instant uh yeah, anytime life instantly, disappears and you have that sudden trauma, especially in a trauma event, that energy is actually felt, and it
Mm,
is a weird energy um, to be around and to feel. I can't describe it really,
right.
but that energy it has left an imprint, in the area that's around there, and the energy is just different.
Wow.
There's a heavier, like it's more a heaviness to it that is all very indescribable, and an overall feeling of sorrow that is within that area. And it's what's crazy about it too is when you remove yourself, if it were to occur into a house or if you're outside, like on this last call, once you get further away from it, the heaviness and the sorrow actually disappears. But
Mm,
it is a palpable feeling.
wow. That's
Yeah,
wow. Wow. That's really interesting, man. That's really interesting. Um, so with you said what you guys have is like peer groups and stuff like that
yeah.
for bad calls for when things like that happen. What are some of the I'd really like to know, man. Like what are some of the techniques or what are some of the things that they do to help you guys to kind of just, you know, remain focused and to keep going? If you can share, I don't know if
Oh no, I can share everything.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. No, if there's, I just won't share patient names, and I can pretty much be an open book for everything you want to know.
Got
so,
you.
so our peer support system that we have, so it's a critical stress incident management, so CISM, and those will be called in. We always do peer support first. The biggest thing that we have found within our department, our area, and areas around is nobody likes when there's something. It's a tough guy area, tough guy feeling of the, this is what we got going on. Everybody has to be macho and strong, and
Right.
you have to just maintain this level of machismo of, I'm strong, don't worry about it, it's fine, like, I'll be fine. But those boundaries have been broken down, thankfully, and we have a good culture where we're at. But you just bring in your peers, so people who are on a different shift who aren't working, they'll come in and we just do what's just sit around the table and we just talk.
Oh,
um,
okay.
you just visit with your peers who also work as well with in the department, so you're not talking to somebody who doesn't understand it.
Right.
And it gives you an outlet to have that conversation. And when you're around people who work with you, they know how you are if you're off a little bit on something.
Got
So
you.
it gives you that ability to just have that conversation. And a lot of times, just having that conversation is what, I don't want to say fixes everything, but it allows you to go through and process in a healthy manner and work through it.
Got you.
The other thing when that peer support system comes in is we either will have call coverages to where a station will overlap for another station, or we'll do callbacks. So we'll call somebody who's off and see if they're available for a few hours, and they'll come in and run duration of calls for a few hours for you, so that the team that was just out on that call has the ability to just relax. They don't have to do anything.
Right,
They
right.
can just sit at the station. um, because one thing for us is it's not that call per se that you're having problems with, like you're processing that call. It's always the call after, um,
Mm,
is what we talk about. It's not that call; it's the call after, and that's where you feel it. And I can attest to that because I felt that before we really had a good peer support system. Is that we would have a bad call that would have mental and spiritual effects on you because it just didn't go well, and then you would get called to the next 911, and somebody would be complaining of like a knee pain, and they'd want to go, and they're just complaining of the entire time, and you start to your patient care decreases because you're cranky because you're like, do you know what happened like just 10 minutes ago in my world right now, and this is what you're complaining about?
Right, right.
Somebody died, somebody's
Oh
dead, and you're
man.
complaining about knee pain.
Wow.
So we found that giving that call coverage to help is what helps you kind of
Wow,
process
yeah.
for that
Dang, you
next
don't
call.
think about that. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where the big one came out. Is it's everybody's pain threshold is different. Like like for me, I know that I'm not going to call 911 unless like I'll probably be dead. Honestly, I'll probably lop
Yeah.
off my arm. I'll put a band-aid on it, and I'll drive to the hospital. Like I'm not going to call
Yeah.
911. My 911 threshold is really high, but everybody's threshold is different, and that is something that needs to be understood. So that knee pain, they're calling 911 because it is awful for them, even though it
Yeah.
might seem very minor to you. It was bad enough for them to feel the need to call 911.
Right.
Um, so you can't compare to that previous one because for this person, it is life changing. This pain is life changing for
Wow.
them. But in my world, in the call before was more severe naturally than this, which made me then just be very cranky to patients. And
Right.
it goes around. So we have to cover that call after to give you time to decompress and have that room to breathe and process.
Dude, that is wow, dude. That you guys go through some deep, deep mental work, bro. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that's you man. Oh man, yeah, no, I'm glad I talked to you on this, man, because there's a whole lot of different varieties of empathy you have, man. That's deep, dude. That is really deep because like I could not even imagine, right? And sometimes we feel validated by that. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's like, dude, I literally like. Do you want me to explain to you what just? It's like
Yeah.
you could easily be like, let me just explain to you what just happened, so you could chill out. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
but okay, like you said, but there's different levels of man, I gotta work on myself a little bit more. So I'm gonna tell you right now, because that just helped me to
Yeah.
really, really see life in a different lens, dude. I'm so appreciative that you were able to bring that perspective to me, man, because it is like you said, there's different levels of 911 for everybody else, and that's not to say that just because this level 911 wasn't the
Yeah.
level 911 that you experienced, that doesn't mean that it doesn't validate this person, this individual, of how
Yeah.
they feel and their feelings, man. Dang, I got
Yeah.
some deep work to do, man. You just
Yeah.
hit me
Well, and
hard.
it's like it. Yeah. No, it is. It's hard, and I mean, like I'm not perfect at it all. Like when I first started, I mean, I was. It was just a jerk. Like the empathy wasn't there. Really, what
Yeah,
it really
yeah,
wasn't until I started like my personal, mindset and spiritual journey, a couple of years ago, that things like really started, to kind of click and really focus and force me to have to like focus in on myself. Because I mean, it very much even goes back to kind of like Dale Carnegie, to where it's influencing other people. Is it's that whole crossover? Is it's I could sit there and explain to you what I just went on, but that doesn't validate that person's feeling. I'm not solving their problem. Like I'm
right.
complaining to them about my problems, and they don't care about my problems. They need me to take care of their problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been some deep introspection that has had to occur, and work. Like there's so much work to do. It's ridiculous to get that mindset right.
Yeah, dude, that's good. This is good. I was totally unexpected, man. I figure I would get some good gems out of it. I hope the people, when you guys get to watch this, that you really think about that, man, because that's
Yeah.
that's super freaking deep, dude. I really appreciate you, man. How long have you been a firefighter, dude?
7 years. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been doing it for 7 years. So
Got
I
you.
in the realm of firefighting, I'm still a baby.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Yeah,
Got you.
no,
So
I'm
there's people that's been there for like decades.
oh yeah, no,
Okay.
you get your 20 years, and you even get a couple 30, and those guys were trying to push out because we're like, you're salty and old and crusty. It's time to go. Like, you got cool war stories, I get it, but let's go, enjoy your retirement. So, but it is, firefighting is one of those careers that you'll hold on to until you're done, because it is. Since I've started, there are days that it feels like a job. But when I, working jobs in the past, this is a true calling and passion of mine, to where when my alarm gets up, like, I don't dread going to work. I actually
Right.
enjoy going to work because it's not work for me anymore. Like, I get to help other people. I get paid, to help other people on their worst day.
Yeah.
And I'm a helper like that. That's who I am. So
Yeah.
the fact that I get a check on top of it, that's absolutely phenomenal. I
Yeah.
do. There is no greater feeling than being able to help, your fellow man, through whatever there is going on. So
Yeah, that's what's up. So look, y'all watching now, y'all see why I call him Superman, dude. Because that's that's exactly what I'm talking about, man. I really appreciate it, dude. Just lastly, Lan, like, is there any? Have you said you captain now? So you were rookie, then you went to captain. What was that process look like? How many upgrades have you had, or where you at from the start to where you at now?
oh man, so yeah, so I will be officially promoted to captain in October. So still
Okay,
lieutenant right now. So it is
nice,
there's promotional testing that you have to go through in that journey.
got you.
So certain departments have to have X amount of years. You have to have X amount of like certifications or task books, is what they are, completed through JPRs, and then you have open testing. So I took this position of lieutenant. Uh, One, because there was a gentleman that I didn't, want to have it. Like,
Okay,
I felt kind of bad. I look back and I was like, man, that's kind of a crappy thing to do. But it was like, man, like, I feel that even though I don't think I'm ready, I feel that I would better suit the position due to my mindset better.
got you, got you.
And that was the main reason I took it. Would I change what I did? Absolutely not, because it has benefited me um, immensely. It has forced me to grow, but I also feel that I have given back, and my team is better, and the department's better because of it. So it did
Hmm.
work. But the motive behind it may have been a little immature,
Got
for
you.
that reason. But it worked out. So
Yeah.
I do believe, everything happens for a reason, and, certain things are put in front of you, to either test you and you rise up to the occasion, or you don't. So in the fire world, I skipped over what's called driver operator, the guy who gets to drive the fire engine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's also a promotion as well too, because when you're on fire, there's just more roles and responsibilities that are involved with that.
Got you.
So as a firefighter, you're the guy who rides in the back seat. Super simple roles. That's your assignment. Driver, operator, engineer. There's a promotion there, to where you get a little bit more, and then you have what's called riding front seat, which is either your lieutenant or captain.
Okay.
Um, and so I skipped over driver operator, took the lieutenant exam, and the exam for our department is a 150 question exam. Then you have to go through an oral board interview panel with five people on it. So there are some other captains, battalion chiefs, division chief, and then we actually had our chief on it. The actual chief of the department was on it as well too.
Oh, okay.
So then you have to go through and you have to interview and answer their questions, and then we have what's called scenario based, to where they're like, you have this going on there, or this is your call. You have a structure fire at this house with two people inside, and it's 2 stories, and it's on the back corner, which, if it's on the back left corner in fire lingo, that would be the Bravo Charlie corner. Go, and then you work through that scenario, and then
Okay.
you get graded on it as to how well you handle the scene, and what you do. So went through that testing process. Was given lieutenant, and then we had open captain's process, and it's the exact same process. So you just move up. So in our department, captain is in charge of the dual company house. So lieutenants will be at individual stations that just have like an engine or just an ambulance. And then if you have a dual company house that has like a truck and an engine, then you have to have one captain to oversee everybody. But then you'll have your officers who are in command of the rigs. So the captain, I'm still on the engine, and I oversee the lieutenant on the truck. And so it's just working that process up of just more management, more roles and responsibilities, and making sure that everybody does their job. But that's not really that big of a concern because everybody's so dialed, and the culture here is great, and they love their job. So I'm not having to work with dropping the hammer to make sure people get things done.
Yeah.
Legit, it's the team that makes this job easy because the people are amazing.
Got you. That's really cool, man. Yeah, I'm glad I called you on here, man. This was really good, dude. It's really
Yeah.
good information, man. Great deep things to think about, man. The mindset of always making sure that you're up to par so that you're ready for those type of calls, and then the different varieties of people that you interact with, and the like you said, the 911 tolerances of people, and really being and trying your best to be empathetic to that,
Mhm.
are some straight up key learnings for me, man. I really appreciate you providing that information, dude.
Yeah.
But if you could send out, lastly, if you could send out any message into the world, man, what would it be?
Oh man. Uh, I think I would have to go with know thyself. Uh,
Mm,
know thyself. Because if you know yourself, you'll be true to yourself. You'll speak your truth, and that will allow you to be more authentic with other people. People, you don't want people don't want a superficial Vic. I don't want a superficial Kevin.
yeah,
People might not agree with everything I say, but I'm being authentic to myself, and
right.
that can at least be appreciated by people. Um, and if you know yourself, you know your thresholds as well too, or you start to understand your thresholds to where if your energy alignment's out, or you feel yourself slipping into like low vibration, you can catch yourself, because there are times. I mean, we all go through it to where we have awesome spurts of energy running on high vibration. Everything's taken care of and we're motivated. But when you start hitting those slums, you got to stay disciplined and know that you're slipping into a lower vibration and figuring out what was the cause of that to get you to return back to your peak performance. So, but we could talk about that all day for know thyself. I mean, man, like that's a deep one. But know thyself. Introspect and work on yourself, and
Yeah.
just know who you are.
Yeah, man. Well, it's super appreciative to know you a little bit more, man, and to have you a part of the institute, man. Thank you for your support and everything in this too, man. It's you're a great guy to have in here, man. And I already could feel that, but now hearing everything, man, it's super solidified at this point, dude. It's like
Yeah.
you're a
Well.
really stand up dude, man. That's yeah, this was really good, dude. So thank you for everything. Thank you for all the information and the stuff that you
Absolutely.
provided, man. So all right, so yeah, for anybody watching, y'all, thank you very much. If you have any questions or anything, go ahead and post some comments, man. Make sure you like this video, and I'll keep coming with the interviews. I'll keep searching for people, man. But Vic, thank you again. Appreciate
Hey,
having you
thank
on
you,
the
Kevin.
show. And yeah, guys, always remember that mindset matters more than anything else. All right. We'll see you again next time.